What's going on, Colts Nation? I appreciate you joining me for another video where today I'm going to do my final mock draft. And I went ahead and I did a full round one mock draft just because there's a little bit of difference. What could we possibly do? I wanted to do a couple different things. So in the first round mock draft, we'll see what the Colts do. And then I also have one that's just for the Colts, a 7-round draft. So let's go through the first one real quick. And here in this first one, I'm not doing anything differently in the first 3 picks than anybody else is doing. I don't think, right? There's talk that maybe the Patriots trade out. I just don't think that's likely. Caleb Williams, the obvious #1 pick. Jaden Daniels, I think, is going to go #2, even though there's rumblings of Drake May possibly going. They'd be crazy not to take Jaden Daniels #2. And then Drake May would fall to New England at #3, possibly not even play much in his rookie year. Probably play at some point, not much, so maybe even not at all if they want to take, the Packers approach to things and how they've done things for so long. But then that's where things start to change. After that #3 pick here in the first round, we're going to go #4, where I think the Cardinals definitely have a chance that they could trade out. And the team that I think is going to end up trading up, even though Pete Schrager said that he thought maybe the Giants would trade up, I think the Vikings have the best draft capital to be able to do so, and they'll be able to get it done if that's what they want. And the trade that I had going through was Arizona giving up pick #4 and a 2025 5th-round pick. And the Vikings would then in turn give the Cardinals the #11 pick, the #23 pick in this year's draft, number 129 and 177 in this year's draft, plus a 2025 first-round pick. So all in all, Vikings give up 3 first-round picks plus pick 129 and pick 127 in this year's draft. And then in return, they get pick #4 in this draft and then a 5th-round pick in next year's draft. And what do they do with that? They go get J.J. McCarthy, quarterback out of Michigan. Everybody's saying that one way or another, somebody seems is going to end up trading up to get J.J. McCarthy. So the Vikings, a lot of talk about them liking J.J. McCarthy. And I think, I don't know, I just have a feeling that this is what's going to happen. Sometimes I don't go with my feelings and I stay away from it. This is what I think the Vikings wanted to get that extra first-round pick for. I think they want to move up in this draft, and they're going to go get their quarterback of what they hope is their quarterback of the future in J.J. McCarthy. And then at #5, that would leave the, of course, best wide receiver in this draft, Marvin Harrison Jr., going to the Chargers, who, of course, need wide receivers. After Mike Williams goes to the Jet, and then they trade to the Bears, Keenan Allen, who's one of the best receivers in the game. So they need a wide receiver. They give Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, what I think is interesting, something that I think is definitely possible from everything I keep hearing. Like I keep hearing stuff about Roma Dunze and how good he is, right? He has size, athleticism. He can play inside. He can play outside. Smarts, right? What he has between the ears is next level stuff, at least from everything that I keep hearing. So Roma Dunze, good chance he is the second receiver off the board. The closer we get to the draft, the more I see and the more I hear, and it seems like there really is a chance that Roma Dunze goes before Malik Neighbors. And if that's the case, if Roma Dunze does go before Malik Neighbors, I think the Giants take Roma Dunze with the #6 overall pick. And here in this mock, that's what I have happening. There are choices for them, especially after J.J. McCarthy gets drafted. I think wide receiver is the obvious pick for the Giants, and they get Roma Dunze 7. Just like everybody else, I have the Titans drafting Joe Alt. I also have, just like everybody else, the Falcons drafting Dallas Turner. And then that's where things get interesting. We've talked before about the Colts potentially trading up to #9 because Ryan Poles wants to get more draft capital in this draft. And in the future, he likes building through the draft. So what do the Colts do? The Colts do what the rest of the AFC South has done. The rest of the AFC South has been active, and this is what Pete Schrager was talking about. Everybody else in the AFC South has been aggressive, so this just makes sense for the Colts to go into the draft, be aggressive, and make something happen, right? You're trying to build around your rookie quarterback. They do so, where the Colts give up pick 15 pick 82, and pick 151 in this year's draft, plus a 2025 first round pick, and give that to the Bears for number 9 this year and a 2025 sixth round pick. And what do? They go up and get Malik Neighbors, just like Pete Schrager was talking about. They get Malik Neighbors. Now, after consideration, and as much as I thought about this, I was going through this, like this is something that I thought hard about. And I think if Roma Dunze is there, I think there's a chance that the Colts still try to pull the trigger. Now, I think the spoiler to this is because the Cardinals move down and get 2 draft picks in the first round from the Vikings. In that instance, they would then have number 11, number 23, and number 27 picks in the first round. That's 3 first round picks. They could be the team, right? Trade down to 11 and then trade back up into that number 9 spot, possibly even keeping number 11. They could keep their 11 pick and trade up with the Bears and go up to number 9. We'll see, what they want to do there. Would the Bears, want to take the number 23 pick instead of number 11? That's yet to be seen. So that's really the spoiler. If anybody's going to spoil this plan, it's going to be the Cardinals, because in my mock, they end up with 3 first round picks and they have the capital to be able to go try to make a move. So I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. Malik Neighbors seems like the guy. I just, the more information that comes out, again, the more things are happening, the closer we get to the draft, the more it seems that this is a likelihood that the Colts could trade up and that the Colts could end up trading up for Malik Neighbors at the number 9 spot. So that would be great. And of course, I want to know what your opinion is of that down in the comments section. Again, the draft capital here, Colts give up pick 15, pick 82, pick 151, and a first round pick next year, which, if we're good enough, should be in the late 20s. Okay, just remember that. Possibly late 20s pick next year in the first round. And we get back pick number 9 and a 2025 sixth round pick. Okay, you let me know what you think of that move down in the comments section. Okay, then as we go on here, just to kind of look through guys that Colts could have passed up. I guess, there aren't Colts picks here, so we'll go through this quickly. I'll pop this up here if you want to pause it and kind of look through it. You can do that. But I have Brock Bowers goes to the Jets, Terrion Arnold to the Cardinals at 11. The Cardinals with their 3 draft picks in the first round, I had them taking Terrion Arnold at 11. Then they get Chop Robinson at 23, who, if you watch this channel, I think Chop Robinson's going to be very good. So they get 2 cornerstones for the future on the defensive side. And then they end up with Xavier Worthy at 27. And I think overall for the Cardinals, I think that's successful. You're trying to build around Kyler Murray, so you don't have to worry about quarterback, but you get 3 guys in the first round. And I think those 3 guys are going to be really good. All 3 of them we've talked about on this channel. I think all 3 of those guys are going to be really good in the NFL. And if that goes the Cardinals' way, then it was all worth it for them, right? End up with the number 4 pick, but they could turn that in to a lot of really good talent in the future around their quarterback who they've already paid. So that would work out really well for the Cardinals. Some other things here, Michael Penix Jr. might be a little early to get picked at number 12 for the Broncos, but I didn't really see what else the Broncos could do with what they need. Would they need a quarterback? That's the most important thing. They need a quarterback. Would they trade back for one? I couldn't find the right scenario and couldn't get the draft capital right in trades. Not all trades are guaranteed for what I was using here. But I ended up having the Broncos go ahead and select Michael Penix Jr. with the 12 pick. The only reason he's really falling anyways is because of injury risk. So I think he's really talented. I think the Broncos take the risk and take him. Kenyon Mitchell ends up going number 15 anyways to the Bears, who swap picks with the Colts. So, there's a chance that the Colts end up taking him at 15. Doesn't matter. It ends up being the Bears at 15 that end up taking Kenyon Mitchell. Brian Thomas ends up in Jacksonville with the number 17 pick. I feel like that just makes sense if he's still on the board there. At number 22, Nate Wiggins ends up going to Philly. A.D. Mitchell ends up going to the Cowboys at number 24. I think that's a move they're thinking in the future, possibly building around another quarterback in the future or building around Dak Prescott. They go get another receiver. I was looking at their depth chart. They could definitely use an A.D. Mitchell on their team. Cooper DeJean goes to Green Bay, playing for the Packers. position of need for them. Ty Smith from the Pat McAfee Show going to be extremely happy about that one. The Bills, I have them selecting a cornerback, Kool-Aid McKinstry, and then at the bottom of the first round, it's all offensive linemen. Ravens, Niners, and Chiefs couldn't really feel anything that would make sense for a first round pick, except for these guys, right? And these are really good players. I looked into these guys before I sent them these teams. These are really good players, players that could fit positions in need for these teams. So, this is what I was thinking for first round altogether. You let me know what you think of this first round, whether you're a Colts fan, if you're a fan of another team, you happen to be watching this. What do you think of my mock? You let me know down in the comment section. I'd love to know what everybody's opinion is of all this. But now I want to get into the Colts part of this draft. And the reason I wanted to do two different types, right? This is a 7-round draft, and there's a possibility the Colts trade up, but I also wanted to do something for the possibility and the eventuality that the Colts either stay in place at 15 or end up trading back into the first round. And I actually, as I was doing this, I tried to trade back to number 19 and find a way to trade with the Rams. Again, I think it was a Pro Football Network mock draft, and the trades that I was trying to push through, they just weren't accepting them. I thought they were pretty fair, honestly, but they weren't accepting them, so I couldn't move back to where I wanted to make things a little more interesting and a little more Chris Ballard like. But okay, we stay at 15. This is where it was difficult. And the reason I was trying to trade back is because there are other options here. And I wanted a little bit of help, of not having to make such a difficult decision in who I'm trying to pick here. So I'll show you guys who my options were here. I went ahead and grabbed a screenshot while I was doing it because there are a lot of really good names here. So picking at number 15, and the guys that were available were Brock Bowers, Laitu, the defensive end, who a lot of people saying really good, one of the best might be the best edge rusher in this draft, just has the injury concerns. And then you have Jared Verse, Kenyon Mitchell, J.C. Latham, but we're not really worried about that right now. But then Brian Thomas Jr. is sitting there, Byron Murphy's up there, Johnny Newton's up there. So there's a lot of really good talent to choose from. There are a lot of good names to choose from. And obviously, you go down a little bit, Nate Wiggins, Cooper DeJean were still sitting there. So it was hard to figure out what should I do. I tried to trade back a little bit. Hey, maybe I can trade back a couple spots. I can get an extra draft pick here and be able to still get Brian Thomas. I thought that'd be cool. So, in the end, my thought process was, what are we going to do? We could go Brock Bowers, but we have a bunch of tight ends. I just think it makes sense. Yes, Brock Bowers, best player available in terms of all these guys, probably, but what do we need and what can we use for the future? We're talking about building for the future. Hopefully, Jelani Woods is the guy for the future, right? If he can stay on the field, maybe he's the guy for the future. So maybe you have your tight end of the future in-house, right? Explosive athlete, big guy, freaking nature. So you already have that. And then as I was thinking about it, defensive end made sense. I thought about Laitu. I almost pressed draft on Laitu, but the injury concerns freak me out. Kenyon Mitchell, I really, really like. I think he's going to be a great NFL corner. I just think for the Colts, I think Juju, assuming he can stay on the field, going to be really, really good. I think Jalen Jones can be really good. And I think Dallas Flowers, as he continues to work back from that injury, I think he can be really good. Now, we'll see. He's still young, so I think there's a good chance of him coming back with modern technology. He's already getting back into working out and whatnot, and put a video out not too recently of him, doing drills, and I thought he was moving really well. So I feel good, honestly, about the corners, at least good enough to not take one in the first round. So with Brian Thomas here, I'm thinking you have AR. You drafted Josh Downs last year. You just locked up Jonathan Taylor. You just locked up Michael Pittman Jr. Let's go ahead, draft Brian Thomas Jr. We don't know what Alec Pierce is going to be in the future. We know what we've seen him so far, and we know what we hope he can do with Anthony Richardson staying healthy, right? If Anthony Richardson stays healthy, maybe Alec Pierce can be unlocked, right? But Brian Thomas Jr., I just feel like, and we've talked about this before on this channel, I think Brian Thomas Jr. is not just a one-trick pony, right? Alec Pierce is a go ball guy, and he's learned to do different things and was able to do different things, got the ball in different ways last season. But in the ways he was getting the ball, there's no opportunity for run after catch. Brian Thomas Jr. has a different skill set and more of an athletic skill set to where he can do different things and is better at different things and can still do the go ball thing and can also, the run after catch, he can get away from people. So Brian Thomas Jr., just a better version of Alec Pierce, in my opinion. I think if you're building around your quarterback, you're already pretty solid in the trenches. So, hey, get the playmakers. You want to get more explosive? Prove it. Draft Brian Thomas Jr., number 15 overall in the first round in 2024. That's what I'm thinking. Of course, I want to know what you're thinking. Okay, so let's run through the rest of these here. Number 46, somehow, some way throughout this draft, right? I wasn't doing every pick in the draft. I was just doing the Colts, so the computer was doing things. But Darius Robinson, defensive end from Missouri, ends up falling to 46. If he's there at 46, I think it makes so much sense to draft him in there. It's something that the Colts need to look at in this draft is edge rusher. This is a guy in the second round that you wouldn't have to worry about, okay, he has to come in and play right away, right? You have Kwity Paye, Dio Dangbo, Samson Ebicom, your defensive tackles. Darius Robinson can come in, just be a part of the rotation, and that would be just fine. So I think this would be really good if you could nail down Brian Thomas Jr. and Darius Robinson as your first two picks. That, like, first two rounds, A plus in my opinion. I think we would be really lucky as Colts fans if this is how it played out through these first couple rounds. And then as we go on here and go through this in round 3, I have the Colts picking a versatile inside guy, somebody that has taken snaps at center, taken snaps at guard, somebody that's good, a road grader kind of guy, somebody that plays physical. And so I think Christian Mahogany in the third round, pick 82, is a good pick. Then I had a little bit of a trade. Trying to pick up some draft capital, only went down 2 spots. I traded with the Raiders and got a little bit of extra draft capital here. But at 119, have us taking a defensive tackle, somebody that's very athletic, kind of fits the athletic profile. The only reason all the rest of these guys, athletic profile guys, right? Mekhi Wingo, defensive tackle. That's why we draft him. Kitten Oladipo, had him in a couple of mocks at this point. A safety, we got to get depth there. We end up going to draft him because he's an athletic guy and kind of makes sense for us, can fit a certain type of role like Ronnie Harrison. Now, pick 178, have us taking a very athletic running back from Louisville. Didn't really look into him a whole lot. I just know very athletic, very explosive. Go ahead, add him to the rotation. Maybe practice squad him year 1. Maybe he's part of the rotation. Who knows? But then 191, Joe Milton. I think having him come in and possibly be an emergency quarterback guy or just getting him in the system. There are things he clearly needs to work on. That's why he's getting picked in the 6th round. Joe Milton, definitely, he's the definition of raw, right? They said that about Anthony Richardson. Joe Milton, very raw, needs to work on some things, but I think getting him around Anthony Richardson, getting him around Shane Steichen, getting him around Joe Flacco, somebody that, can grow in the system, and having him in AR, right? You have that versatility. Not that I think AR is going to be just fine in his career. I'm just saying, getting Joe Milton in the building, Sam Ehlinger probably going to be gone at some point. Get him in, get the culture established, get him to learn stuff, and see if he can be somebody that can sit behind AR for a prolonged level of time. And then getting another safety, Dominique Hampton. This is, again, all physical profile, somebody that has a lot of experience playing in college. We've heard Ballard talk before about experience being a big thing, and he brings a lot of playing experience from college. So I think Dominique Hampton from Washington, and having that championship level experience, I think there is an avenue where the Colts get 2 safeties. We had 3 corners last year, could get 2 safeties, trying to figure stuff out in that secondary. Going to continue to be young, but I think we get a lot of really explosive athletes in this draft. The way it is for me, we end up with 8 draft picks, and I think both sides of the ball, very explosive. We're really starting to build around Anthony Richardson, and of course, I'd love to know what your opinion is of this draft. Of course, both of them, but if you're a Colts fan specifically, want to know what your opinion is of this one, you let me know down in the comment section. And if anything drastic happens to change, if anything happens before the draft, we will cover it. So make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you continue to get notified of any videos that happen to come out. We try to have daily content on this channel. But I appreciate you stopping by for another video. And as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.